Hi, and welcome back to Mr. Raymond's Social Studies Academy, where today, in part 4 of our series on the American Revolution, we will learn how the Americans, with the help of their French allies, were able to win a crucial victory in a battle that would ultimately end the war. In a previous video, we learned about how the French had entered on the side of the Patriots, as well as some of the new heroes who would play a crucial role in the defeat of the British. After some terrible lows for the Continental Army, such as their winters at Valley Forge, the capture of New York, and many defeats on the battlefields, added to the capture of Savanah and Charlestown, now Charleston, South Carolina, today we will learn about how things turned around for the fledgling Americans. So what do you need to know? Well, today we will just about wrap up the military course of the war and the important events that would lead to the Patriots' victory. And in our next and last video on the war, we will review how they were able to pull off this unlikely win against the world's most powerful army. And just a reminder, teachers, that this PowerPoint with a variety of resources are available at Teachers Pay Teachers. Just click the link in the notes below this video or search for Mr. Raymond's Social Studies Academy at Teachers Pay Teachers. So as we said, today we will just about wrap up this long war with pretty much the end of the fighting and finally see how the Patriots prevail over the British. But first we have to look at the British Southern Campaign, which would lead to their ultimate downfall. As we mentioned last time, the South held the greatest number of Loyalists, sometimes called Tories, who remained loyal to the British government. Many Loyalists fled to England and other places, and the ones who remained, like those in the South, faced criticism, harassment, and occasionally violence. When the British invaded the South after capturing Savanah and Charleston, they expected Loyalists to join their fight. There was some fighting between the Loyalists and Patriots, but not what the British expected. As the British marched through the countryside in the South, they would face hit-and-run attacks from small bands of Patriot soldiers. This type of fighting is known as guerrilla warfare, and the British troops were not accustomed to fighting like this. One new Patriot hero would arise in the South in the form of Francis, the, quote, swamp fox Marion. Marion exemplified this type of guerrilla warfare. He and his troops would attack and disappear back into the swamp, causing one British officer to describe Marion as, quote, the devil himself. As the British marched north through the Carolinas, they threatened the local populations to either join the British or they would, quote, hang their leaders and lay waste to their country. This angered Southerners, many of whom developed new patriotic spirit and joined the Continental Army. Others formed new militias, culminating with the battle against Loyalist forces at the Battle of Kings Mountain. Meanwhile, the Patriots would see the rise of another hero as Nathaniel Greene replaced General Horatio Gates after his humiliating defeat at the Battle of Camden. Greene would become the commander of the Continental Forces in the South. Greene split his troops to keep the British guessing about their movements. A section under the leadership of Francis the Swamp Fox Marion won a major victory in the Battle of Cowpens. Then, later, Greene and Marion combined their forces and met the British at Guilford Courthouse in present-day Greensboro, North Carolina. Although forced to ultimately retreat, they inflicted heavy losses on the British. Having lost about 25% of his troops at the Battle of Guilford Courthouse, British General Cornwallis retreated to Virginia in April 1781, eventually settling at Yorktown, Virginia, to await reinforcements. Meanwhile, in the north, during the summer before, the Patriots received some welcome news. In July of 1780, French warships arrived in Newport, Rhode Island. With aid and thousands of soldiers, the French were a sight for sore eyes. Commanded by the French general Comte de Rochambeau, the French troops met up with George Washington and his men and waited for another French fleet. Washington wanted to attack the British in New York, but that plan would never happen. Instead, Washington sent his trusted French officer, the Marquis de Lafayette, to Virginia, who managed to pin the British down at Yorktown. Surrounded by the water on three sides, the trap was set and Washington would head to Virginia. Washington marched his men south, working tirelessly to convince the British that he might still attack them at New York City. His secret plan had perfect timing, as the large French fleet arrived in Virginia from the Caribbean just as Washington did. The French fleet under Admiral de Grasse defeated the British in the Battle of the Chesapeake, blocking the British from coming to the aid of Cornwallis and Yorktown. By the end of September 1781, Washington, with Rochambeau, Lafayette, and de Grasse's men, had amassed 14,000 troops surrounding the fort at Yorktown, with Cornwallis and his 8,000 men. With the British completely surrounded, the Americans began shelling as they closed in their trap on the fort. Cornwallis, running low on food, tried a daring escape only to be turned back by the French and the Americans. Future founding father Alexander Hamilton led an attack capturing key British defenses on October 14, 1781, cutting off any chance of escape. Finally, Cornwallis surrendered on October 19, 1781, turning his 8,000 British soldiers and 200 cannon over to George Washington. At the surrender ceremony, a French band played Yankee Doodle. This was a British song meant to make fun of the Patriots, while the British played a song titled, quote, "The World Turned Upside Down." And for the British, the world truly did seem upside down, which is where we will pick up next time as we look at the Treaty of Paris, bringing the final end to this war, and how the Patriots were able to defeat the mighty British. But before we do, let's review. The British launched their southern campaign after capturing these two southern cities. We did this in the last video, but it's good to review. Savanah and Charlestown, now known as Charleston, South Carolina. Who led the British Southern Campaign? That would be General Cornwallis. True or false? The Loyalists in the South rose up to help the British. False. British threats to, quote, hang their leaders and lay waste to their land had this effect on Southerners. It created more patriots. What type of warfare did the Patriots use? Consisting of hit-and-run tactics, guerrilla warfare. What was the nickname of Francis Marion, who used these guerrilla tactics? Remember, he would hide in the swamp fox. After this battle, Cornwallis retreated to Virginia. Guilford Courthouse. Which French officer did Washington send to Virginia? The Marquis de Lafayette. Where did the Americans and French surround Cornwallis and the British? Yorktown, Virginia. Which Patriot officer captured French defenses towards the end of the siege on Yorktown? Alexander Hamilton. And that's it. I want to thank you guys for watching. Be sure to subscribe because up next we are going to finish the Revolutionary War. I know it's been a long road. We're going to look at the Treaty of Paris and how the Patriots won the war. And just a reminder, teachers, that this PowerPoint with worksheets, smartboard activities, lesson plans, quizzes, Kahoots, and additional activities are available at Teachers Pay Teachers. Just click the link in the notes below this video or search for Mr. Raymond's Social Studies Academy at Teachers Pay Teachers. Again, thanks for watching, guys. Keep up that good work.